Harvard goes to the Himalayas, finds monks with superhuman abilities that stun scientists. Well, we have them in Christian Orthodoxy as well. They can tell you about your past, present, and even your future. And this is what the Apostle Paul says we have to ask our Lord Jesus Christ for the big things, so that he will give us these graces, so that, and he even tells us why, so that people who come to know of these people having these graces given to them by God will come to believe in God. And this is having to do with monks in the Himalayas. They're Buddhists. It's fascinating to consider how many ancient teachings tell us that humans have the capacity to gain extraordinary powers through various techniques. Some of the techniques known as siddhis in the yoga tradition, from Sanskrit meaning perfection, include meditation, static dancing, drumming, praying, fasting, psychedelics, and more. In Buddhism, for example, the existence of advanced powers is readily not acknowledged. In fact, Buddha expected his disciples to be able to attain these abilities, but also to not become distracted by them. A professor of Buddhist and Tibetan studies at the University of Michigan, Donald Lopez Jr., describes the many abilities ascribed to Buddha, saying in his book, with this enlightenment, he was believed to possess all manner of supernormal powers, including full knowledge of each of his own past lives and those of other beings, the ability to know others' thoughts, the ability to create doubles of himself, the ability to rise into the air and simultaneously shoot fire and water from his body. Although he passed into nirvana at the age of 81, he could have lived for an eon or until the end of the eon, if only he had been asked to do so. Now again, there are numerous historical anecdotes of people with, as the Institute of Noetic Sciences calls them, extended human capacities. Since this article is focused on Buddhist monks, here is another example from the lore as written by Swami Rama in Living with the Himalayan Masters. I had never before seen a man who could sit still without blinking his eyelids for 8 to 10 hours, but this adept was very unusual. He levitated 2.5 feet during his meditation. We measured this with a string, which was later measured by a foot rule, a ruler that is. I would like to make it clear, though, as I have already told you, that I don't consider levitation to be a spiritual practice. It's an advanced practice of pranayama with application of Bandeya's locks. One who knows about the relationship between mass and weight understands that it's possible to levitate, but only after long practice. He also had the power to transform matter into different forms, like changing a rock into a sugar cube. One after another, the next morning, he did many such things. He told me to touch the sand, and the grains of the sand turned into almonds and cashews. I had heard of this science before and knew its basic principles, but I had hardly believed such stories. I did not explore this field, but I am fully acquainted with the governing laws of science. Now, a lot of these stories exist within the literature and lore, but they're just stories, up to the readers to decide if they hold any actual credibility. Of course, one who subscribes to various ancient teachings would be more inclined to believe that these are more than just stories and tales. With science shedding light on the possible truth of ancient mysticism, it's not implausible to think that at one time these abilities were more common knowledge. Today, there have been a number of studies within the realms of parapsychology that have yielded statistically significant results, especially when examining the findings that have come from quantum physics. This is why Max Planck, the theoretical physicist who originated quantum theory, stated that he, quote, regards consciousness as fundamental, end quote, and that he regarded matter as a derivative from consciousness. He also wrote that we cannot get behind consciousness, and that everything that we talk about, everything that we regard as existing, postulates consciousness. And the Dalai Lama has supported this viewpoint, saying, broadly speaking, although there are some differences, I think Buddhist philosophy and quantum mechanics can shake hands on their view of the world. We can see in these great examples the fruits of human thinking. Regardless of the admiration we feel for these great thinkers, we should not lose sight of the fact that they were human beings just as we are. R.C. Henry, professor of physics and astronomy at Johns Hopkins University, explains things further. He says, a fundamental conclusion of the new physics also acknowledges that the observer creates the reality. This is what we see from the observer's eye having to do with quantum theory. So, as observers, we are personally involved in the creation of our own reality. Physicists are being forced to admit that the universe is a mental construction. Pioneering physicist Sir James D. Jeans wrote, quote, "In the stream of knowledge is heading towards a non-mechanical reality. The universe begins to look more like a great thought than like a great machine. Mind no longer appears to be an accidental intruder into the realm of matter. We ought rather hail it as the creator and governor of the realm of matter. Get over it and accept the inarguable conclusion. The universe is immaterial, mental, and spiritual," he said. For a selected list of downloaded peer-reviewed journal articles reported studying psychic phenomena, mostly published in the 21st century, you can click on the link here. Now, Harvard and the Himalayan monks. During a visit to remote monasteries in the 1980s, Harvard professor of medicine Herbert Benson and his team of researchers studied monks living in the Himalayan mountains who could, by Jitamoa, a yoga technique, raise the temperature of their fingers and toes by as much as 17 degrees. It is still unknown how the monks are able to generate such heat. And it doesn't stop there. The researchers also studied advanced meditators in Sikkim, India, where they were astonished to find that these monks could lower their metabolism by 64%. In 1985, the Harvard research team made a video of monks drying cold, wet sheets with body heat alone. Monks spending winter nights 15,000 feet high in the Himalayas is also not uncommon. These are truly remarkable feats, and not the first time science has examined humans who can do extraordinary things. We published an article a couple of months back showing that factors associated with consciousness can influence our autonomic nervous system. Now, concerning these articles, both are heavily sourced and provided links to several papers. Now, if you're interested, you can read Supernormal Science Yoga Evidence of Extraordinary Psychic Abilities by Dr. Dean Radin, Chief Scientist of the Institute of Noetic Sciences. And this is by Humans Are Free. Please leave your comment. Thank you for your support. Kindly support my Patreon account. The daily posts are 5 videos daily, and they are totally different from what I have on my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for your support and that you find all my content so interesting. You'll find the Patreon account details in the description box below.